It was an eventful MLB trade deadline. Let's break down the biggest moves on fantasy baseball today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Wednesday, August 2nd. I am Frank Sanford, joined by Scott White. And let's start off with the biggest move of the day. The Astros acquired Justin Verlander. That's right. He's going back to Houston 1 year after winning the American League Cy Young with those Houston Astros.
And the World Series.
That is correct. He's turned his season around over the last 7 starts, a 1.49 ERA, a 1.06 whip for Justin Verlander. Scott, your thoughts with him moving over to the Astros and the return that the Mets got with the 2 outfield prospects?
Still a low strikeout rate for Verlander during that impressive stretch, and his stuff just doesn't appear to be as overpowering as it's been for much of his career. Understandably, he's 40 years old. I don't think it's wise to bet on him recapturing some of his lost form now that he's with the Astros. The Astros, they've done a good job with pitchers over the years. It's not outside the realm of possibility that Verlander returns to his Cy Young ways back under their watch. I just don't think it's a reasonable bet. He's good as he is. He's not quite an ace in fantasy, I don't think. And honestly, I don't really, as big as of a move as this is in real life, I don't see it impacting his fantasy value so much.
Any thoughts on the return? The Mets received 2 outfield prospects, Drew Gilbert, a former first-round pick from last year, and Ryan Clifford, a 20-year-old with some big numbers down in the minors.
Yeah, between the Verlander and Max Scherzer trades, the Mets are eating a lot of money next year, and apparently it was worth it to them to get legitimate prospects in return. Luis Angel Acuna in return for Scherzer, and then Drew Gilbert mainly is who I'm looking at here for Verlander. Arguably the Astros' top prospect. He was their first-round pick last year. Dominated at high A early this year. Moved up to double A and slowed down. But, an interesting profile, 5'9" guy with plays with high energy, enough power and speed that you could see him being a useful fantasy player. He reminds me kind of a Shane Victorino, I would say, Drew Gilbert. So, if he becomes a starter for the Mets at some point next year, it wouldn't be surprising.
All right, let's slide over to some other pitchers that got moved around. The Phillies acquired Michael Lorenzen, and the Orioles acquired Jack Flaherty. Obviously, for Lorenzen, he gets a much better team and much better run support with the Phillies, but it is a pretty drastic park shift going from Comerica to Citizens Bank. And for Jack Flaherty, control has been a big issue, but it's a great park to pitch in. And hopefully a change of scenery can help him get back on track. Scott, who would you rather have moving forward? Lorenzen with the Phillies or Jack Flaherty with the Orioles?
Look, I'm going to say Lorenzen because I could actually see myself I could see me slotting him into my lineup, and I can't say the same for Jack Flaherty. There's been no reason for optimism with Flaherty throughout this season. And I don't think going to the Orioles would change that. It has turned into a nice pitcher's park, but I kind of feel like Flaherty's beyond being saved by pitcher's parks at this point. His walk rate is so high, his swinging strike rate is so low. We gave him a lot of benefit of the doubt over the past 3 years as he's struggled through injuries, but he's been mostly healthy this year, and it's gone very poorly. So I don't see this trade salvaging him, even though I chose Lorenzen as the one of the 2 to roster. I do think regression is likely for him. Just looking at his xERA, his xFIP, his 7.1 K per 9, and comparing that to past seasons. He has done a better job of throwing strikes this season, has Michael Lorenzen, but the fact he's limited hits to the extent he has this year, it's I have a hard time believing that's going to continue. And yeah, going to more of a hitter's park makes the regression even more likely.
The Marlins have needed offense for years, and they finally acquired some bats. They traded for Jake Burger with the White Sox and Josh Bell from the Guardians. Jake Burger, we know big power there, but crazy home road splits, so I kind of wonder how's he going to play outside of Chicago. Josh Bell, it's been a down year, but the StatCast numbers actually look pretty good, Scott. Any thoughts here on Berger and Josh Bell joining the Marlins.
Oh, while the Justin Verlander trade may have been the biggest of the day, I thought this Berger trade was the most interesting because Berger is kind of like the yin to Luis Ariza's yang. They're polar opposites in terms of what they do as hitters. Berger's power is basically second to none. The only two hitters with a harder hit ball than Berger this year are Matt Olson and Giancarlo Stanton. Among the players with 25 home runs, I think there's 11 of them. The one with the fewest plate appearances other than Berger still has 40 more than him. So like he's done a lot of damage with less playing time, and there are fewer questions about his playing time with the Marlins. I think his power is going to translate there, regardless of what his home way splits say. You just can't expect on him. You can't expect Jay Berger to be any help in batting average, obviously.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.